The coffee was always perfect at exactly 5:47 inches the morning. Sophia Chen had learned this in her first week working at the Valentino estate. Not 5:45, when the espresso machine was still warming up. Not 5:50, when the morning light would hit the study windows at the wrong angle, making Mr. Valentino squint at his financial reports. Exactly 5:47 a.m., when the house was still wrapped in that particular kind of silence that only existed in the hour before Chicago woke up. She moved through the kitchen like a ghost, her movements practiced and silent. The porcelain cup imported from Italy, worth more than her monthly rent, sat on the silver tray. She added 1 sugar cube, no cream, and placed a small biscotti on the saucer. Always the same. Routine was safe. Routine meant being invisible. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Sophia lifted the tray with both hands, careful to keep it level. Her right wrist protested immediately, a sharp spike of pain that made her breath catch. She adjusted her grip, favoring her left side, and started toward the study. The Valentino mansion was the kind of place that made you whisper even when you were alone. Marble floors that reflected the chandelier light like still water. Artwork that belonged in museums hanging casually on walls. Rooms so large your footsteps echoed no matter how quietly you walked. And in the center of it all, in a third-floor study with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, sat Dante Valentino. Sophia had worked here for 4 months and had maybe spoken 50 words directly to him. That was how she liked it. Mr. Valentino wasn't cruel, wasn't demanding, but he was dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with raised voices or threats. He was dangerous because he noticed things. The way you held your coffee cup, the split-second hesitation before answering a question. The exact moment someone's story stopped being true and became a lie. So, Sophia had become very, very good at being nothing worth noticing. She climbed the stairs slowly, the tray balanced perfectly. Her uniform black dress, white apron, sensible shoes was pressed and spotless. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, not a strand out of place. The makeup covering her left cheekbone was careful, layered, professional. It had taken her 40 minutes in the bathroom mirror that morning. Foundation, then concealer, then powder, then more concealer. Building up coverage like an artist builds up paint. The bruise underneath was 4 days old, the angry purple fading to that sickly yellow-green that somehow looked worse than fresh damage. But you couldn't see it. She'd checked 3 times before leaving her apartment. Under the bathroom fluorescents, under the bedroom lamp, under the harsh morning sun streaming through her window. Invisible. The study door was open. Mr. Valentino sat at his desk, exactly where he always sat, reading something on his laptop. He was younger than most people expected when they heard Mafia boss, only 35, though his eyes looked older. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive suit even at this hour of the morning. He had the kind of face that gave nothing away, the kind of stillness that made nervous people talk too much. Sophia had learned not to be one of those people. "Good morning, Mr. Valentino," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't look up. "Morning, Sophia." She approached his desk, moving carefully. The tray felt heavier than usual, or maybe her wrist was just worse today. The pain had been getting sharper, more insistent. She'd wrapped it last night with an elastic bandage from the drugstore, but that only helped so much. She set the cup down on the designated spot left side of the desk, exactly 6 inches from the edge. Her sleeve, pulled deliberately long over her, knuckles, caught on the saucer. For one horrible second, everything tilted. The cup slid, the biscotti tumbled. Sophia's hand shot out to catch it, instinct overriding caution, and her sleeve rode up. Just for a moment, maybe 2 seconds. But it was enough. Dante Valentino's eyes, which had been focused on his screen, shifted, locked onto her wrist. She saw the exact moment he registered what he was seeing. The bruises wrapped around her wrist like a handprint. 4 distinct marks, where fingers had dug in hard enough to break blood vessels. The thumbprint on the inside of her wrist, the other 4 on the outside. A perfect map of violence. Sophia yanked her sleeve down so fast she nearly knocked over the cup for real. Her face burned. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it was trying to escape. "I'm sorry," she stammered. I didn't sleep well. I'm fine." Dante's expression didn't change. That was somehow worse than if he'd reacted. He just sat there, perfectly still, his dark eyes moving from her wrist to her face. And that's when Sophia realized she'd made a second mistake. The makeup on her cheek. It was good makeup, expensive makeup she'd bought specifically for this purpose, but it had been applied in artificial light. And now the sun was rising over Lake Michigan, streaming through those floor-to-ceiling windows, and natural light was the enemy of even the best concealer. She watched Dante's gaze track to her left cheek. Watched him notice the texture difference, the slight color mismatch, the way the light caught the edge where makeup met skin. "Sit down," he said quietly. "I should finish, Sophia." Not loud. Dante Valentino never needed to be loud, but something in his tone made her legs move before her brain caught up. She sank into the leather chair across from his desk, her hands clasped together in her lap to stop them from shaking. He leaned back in his chair, studying her with the same focus he probably gave to business contracts and territorial negotiations. The silence stretched out, heavy and thick. "How long?" he asked finally. "How long what, sir?" "Don't." The word was soft but absolute. "I've spent 20 years reading people, Sophia. Reading when they're lying, when they're scared, when they're hiding something they think I won't notice. So I'm going to ask you again, and I want the truth. How long has someone been hurting you?" Her throat closed up. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think of a single lie that would work. "The wrist," Dante continued, his voice still quiet, still controlled. "Those are finger marks. Someone grabbed you hard enough to leave bruises that are," he tilted his head slightly, 3, maybe 4 days old. "And your face. That's not exhaustion under your makeup. That's an impact trauma. Backhand, probably. Caught you on the cheekbone." Sophia's hands twisted together. How did he know that? How could he possibly know the difference between a punch and a backhand just from looking? "I walked into a door," she whispered. The lie felt hollow even as she said it. "Doors don't leave handprints on wrists. I'm clumsy. You've been working here for 4 months. In that time, you haven't broken a single dish, haven't spilled a single drink, haven't been late once, haven't made a single mistake." Dante's eyes never left her face. "That's not clumsy, Sophia. That's someone who's learned to be very, very careful. Someone who can't afford mistakes." The accuracy of it hit her like a physical blow. She had learned to be careful. 3 years with Marcus had taught her that mistakes meant consequences. Dropped plates meant accusations of wasting money. Wrinkled shirts meant lectures about being a bad girlfriend. Talking back meant she cut off that thought before it could finish. "Mr. Valentino, I appreciate your concern, but my personal life is—" "Your personal life became my business the moment someone put their hands on you." His voice hardened slightly. "You work in my house. You're under my roof 8 hours a day. That means you're under my protection. Do you understand? Protection." The word felt foreign, like something from another language. Marcus used to talk about protection too, protecting her from herself, from her bad decisions, from other men who might try to take advantage of her. His protection had felt like a cage, but the way Dante said it was different. Not possessive, not controlling, just matter of fact, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I don't need protection," Sophia said, though even she could hear how weak it sounded. "I can handle it. Can you?" Dante opened a drawer in his desk, pulled out a small first aid kit. "Because from where I'm sitting, handling it means coming to work with bruises you have to hide. Handling it means favoring your right wrist because someone hurt you badly enough that it still hasn't healed. That's not handling it, Sophia. That's surviving. To it." The distinction hit too close to home. She looked away, focused on a painting on the wall. Abstract shapes in blues and grays that probably cost more than her car. Who is he? The question was so direct it made her flinch. Boyfriend? Husband? Ex? Dante's voice was patient but insistent. Someone you live with? Someone who waits for you after work? It's complicated. Most abuse is. The word hung in the air between them. Abuse. Not trouble or problems or a rough patch. Abuse. The clinical term for what Marcus did when he got angry, when she said the wrong thing, when dinner wasn't ready on time, when she looked at him wrong. "His name is Marcus," she heard herself say. The words came out before she could stop them. "Marcus Torres. We've been together for 3 years. He has a temper. But it's not he doesn't mean to." She stopped. Dante was looking at her with something that might have been pity if it hadn't been so carefully controlled. "He doesn't mean to," she said again, quieter. "It's just when he gets stressed, or when I do something that upsets him, He just hits you. The bluntness of it made her breath catch. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Dante stood up, walked to the window. The sun was fully up now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Does he live with you? We share an apartment in Pilsen. Family? Friends who know? Sophia shook her head. My parents passed away 5 years ago. Car accident. And I don't. Marcus doesn't like me talking to people. He says they'll try to turn me against him, that they don't understand our relationship. Dante turned back to face her. So you're isolated. No support system. Financially dependent on him? He manages our money. Says I'm not good with finances. But you work here. You have your own income. He needs the money for she stopped. God, how had she been about to defend him? He says my job is just to help out until his business takes off. What business? He's a consultant. Marketing, I think. He has meetings. Dante's expression suggested he knew exactly what kind of meetings Marcus had. Does he know where you work? He drove me here on my first day. I wanted to see the place. Something flickered across Dante's face. So he knows you work for me. Know this address. Is that a problem? Instead of answering, Dante picked up his phone and made a call. Vincent, my office. Now. He hung up and looked at Sophia. Vincent Torres is my head of security. He's going to need some information from you. Information about what? About Marcus. His full name, where he works, what he drives, any places he frequents, everything you can remember. Sophia's stomach dropped. Why? Because I need to know who's putting their hands on my employees. Mr. Valentino, please don't. If Marcus finds out I told you. If he thinks I went to you for help, it'll make everything worse. He'll what? Dante's voice was sharp now, cutting. Hit you harder? That's the logic of someone who's been conditioned to accept abuse. Don't make waves. Don't tell anyone. Don't fight back because it'll only get worse. But here's what you need to understand, Sophia. It's already as bad as it's going to get. Men like Marcus, they don't stop. They don't wake up one day and realize they've been wrong. They escalate. There was a knock on the door. A man entered mid-50s, military-bearing, the kind of person who'd seen things and done things and didn't flinch at much. Vincent Torres. Wait, Torres? Sophia's voice came out strangled. Your head of security's last name is Torres? Dante and Vincent exchanged a glance. No relation, Vincent said immediately, reading her panic. It's a common name. I'm Italian-American, born and raised in Little Italy. Now what's this about? Dante gestured to Sophia. This is Sophia Chen. She's been working here for 4 months, and someone named Marcus Torres has been using her as a punching bag. Vincent's expression hardened immediately. Not shocked, not uncomfortable, just coldly professional. How bad? Bad enough she's hiding it with makeup and long sleeves. Vincent pulled out a small notebook. Full name and any details you have on him. Sophia's hands were shaking again. This was happening too fast. She'd come here to serve coffee, to be invisible, to get through another day. Now she was sitting in Dante Valentino's study at dawn, telling his head of security about the man who, Marcus Torres, she said quietly. 32 years old. He says he's a marketing consultant, but I'm not sure what he actually does. We live at 1847 West 21st Street, apartment 3B. He drives a black Ford Explorer, maybe a 2020 model. Vincent wrote it all down. How long have you been together? 3 years. First incident? The clinical phrasing made it easier somehow. Like this was just data, just facts, not her life. About 8 months in. We had an argument about money. I'd bought groceries without asking him first. He grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. Then he cried and apologized and said he'd been under so much stress. And you believed him. It wasn't quite a question, but Sophia nodded anyway. I thought it was a one-time thing. It never is, Vincent said. Not unkindly, just factual. Pattern escalation? Yes. It started with grabbing, then pushing. Then, she touched her cheek unconsciously. This was the first time he hit my face. Usually, he's careful to hit where it won't show. Dante's jaw clenched. Vincent just kept writing. Does he have access to weapons? He has a gun. A handgun, I don't know what kind. He keeps it in a lockbox in our bedroom. Has he threatened you with it? No, but he cleans it sometimes when he's angry. Just sits there, taking it apart and putting it back together. It feels like... She struggled for words. Like a message. It is a message. Dante said flatly. It's intimidation. Does he know you're here right now? He thinks I work early mornings. He's usually asleep when I leave. Good. Dante looked at Vincent. I want to know everything about Marcus Torres by this afternoon. Work history, criminal record, known associates, financial situation, everything. Vincent nodded and headed for the door. Wait. Sophia stood up abruptly. What are you going to do? That depends on what Vincent finds, Dante said. You can't hurt him. If something happens to Marcus and I was just here, if he gets hurt right after I talk to you, the police will. I'm not going to hurt him, Dante interrupted. His voice was calm, reassuring. I'm just going to understand who we're dealing with. Information first, action later. And any action we take will be careful, legal, and untraceable to you. Do you trust me? It was a strange question. She'd known this man for 4 months, had maybe 10 conversations with him, and most of those had been about coffee and breakfast preferences. Did she trust him? But looking at his face, at the absolute certainty in his eyes, she realized that maybe she did. Not because he was safe, Dante Valentino was many things, but safe wasn't one of them, but because he was competent, because when he said he'd handle something, it got handled. Yes, she said quietly. I trust you. Good. Now, you have 2 options. You can go home after your shift like normal, act like nothing happened, or you can stay here. We have staff quarters, secure rooms with locks. You'd be safe. If I don't go home, Marcus will know something's wrong. Probably. But if you do go home, you're walking back into a situation where you're alone with someone who hurts you. Sophia's mind raced. If she didn't go home, Marcus would panic. He'd call her phone, and when she didn't answer, he'd come looking. He knew where she worked. He could cause a scene, show up at the gates, demand to see her. But if she went home, if she walked back into that apartment after talking to Dante, after exposing Marcus's secrets. I'll go home, she said finally. If I change my routine, it'll raise red flags. But she looked at Dante. If something happens, if he gets worse, can I? Dante pulled a business card from his desk drawer, wrote something on the back, and handed it to her. On the front was his name and a phone number. On the back, another number in his handwriting. Front is my office line. Back is my personal cell. You call either one, day or night, and someone will come. Understand? Sophia took the card with trembling fingers. It felt like a lifeline and a declaration of war all at once. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Dante sat back down at his desk. Just promise me you'll be smart. Don't confront him. Don't tell him about this conversation. Act normal. Can you do that? She'd been acting normal for 3 years, pretending everything was fine, that the bruises were accidents, that she was just clumsy, just dramatic, just making mountains out of molehills like Marcus always said. Yes, she said, I can do that. Good. Now go finish your work. I'll handle the rest. Sophia turned to leave, then paused at the door. Mr. Valentino? Why are you helping me? He looked up from his laptop, and for just a moment, his careful mask slipped. She saw something underneath it, something angry and protective and absolute. Because I run a dangerous business, Sophia. I make dangerous decisions. I hurt people who try to hurt me or mine. But I have rules, lines I don't cross. His voice was quiet but hard as steel. And one of those lines is simple. You don't hurt people who can't fight back. You don't use strength to terrorize someone weaker. And you definitely don't put your hands on a woman and then act like it's her fault. He held her gaze. Marcus Torres crossed that line the first time he grabbed you. He just didn't know it yet. But he's about to learn exactly what happens when you cross the wrong person's line. The words should have scared her. Instead, for the first time in 3 years, Sophia felt something that might have been hope. She nodded once and walked out of the study. Behind her, she heard Dante pick up his phone again. Vincent, he said quietly, add something else to that background check. I want to know if Marcus Torres has a history. Priors for assault, restraining orders, complaints from previous girlfriends. And Vincent? A pause. I want this done fast. By noon, Dante Valentino knew everything worth knowing about Marcus Torres. He sat in his private office, not the study where he met with staff, but the secured room on the 4th floor, where he conducted real business and read Vincent's report with growing disgust. Marcus Antonio Torres, age 32, born in Bridgeport, raised by a single mother who died of an overdose when he was 16. bounced through foster care until 18, no college education, despite his claims of a marketing degree, no legitimate employment history for the past 4 years. What he did have was a record. 2 domestic violence arrests, both charges dropped when the victims refused to testify. 1 restraining order from an ex-girlfriend named Jennifer Park expired after 2 years. 3 noise complaints from neighbors reporting arguments and sounds of violence. 2 assault charges from bar fights, pleaded down to disorderly conduct. And most interesting, 6 deposits of $10,000 each into his checking account over the past year. Cash deposits, no clear source, made at different banks across the city. He's not a marketing consultant, Vincent said from his position by the window. He's muscle for hire. Probably does collections, enforcement, maybe some transport work. The money's too regular to be random freelance, which means he's working for someone. Dante tapped the page, showing the bank deposits. Who? That's where it gets interesting. Vincent pulled out his phone, showed Dante a photograph. It showed Marcus standing outside a warehouse in the industrial district, talking to a man in an expensive suit. This was taken 3 weeks ago by one of our dock supervisors. He was doing routine security sweeps and caught this. Didn't think much of it at the time, but now. Dante studied the photo. The man Marcus was talking to was younger, maybe late 20s, with slicked back hair and the kind of watch that cost more than most people's cars. That's Julian Russo, Vincent said, nephew of Carlo Russo. The name landed like a bomb. The Russo family had been rivals to the Valentinos for 3 generations. Nothing violent Chicago had learned the hard way that open warfare was bad for everyone's business. But the Russos pushed boundaries, tested limits, always looking for ways to expand into Valentino territory without technically breaking the accords. And now one of their people was involved with Marcus Torres, who just happened to be dating Sophia Chen, who just happened to work in Dante's house. Tell me this is a coincidence, Dante said quietly. I don't believe in coincidences. Vincent pulled up more photos on his phone. This is Sophia's apartment building. Notice anything? Dante looked closer. The building was old, typical Pilsen working-class housing. But there, parked across the street with a clear view of the entrance, was a black Escalade with tinted windows. That vehicle's been there every day for the past week, Vincent continued. Different times, different drivers, but always watching her building. I ran the plates, registered to a shell company, 2 layers deep, but at the bottom, Russo Imports. Dante felt that cold, focused anger settling into his chest, the kind of anger that made him dangerous. They're using her. Marcus gets involved with Sophia, moves in with her, isolates her. Then he gets her a job here, probably pushed her to apply, made it seem like his idea to help her. And now she's inside your house, cleaning your office, hearing conversations, seeing who comes and goes. She's not a spy, Dante said immediately. I've watched her, Vincent. She's terrified, beaten down, trying to survive. That's not an act. I agree. I don't think Sophia knows anything, but Marcus does. And whoever he reports to is using her as an unwitting asset. Vincent's expression was grim. The question is, what are they looking for? Dante stood, walked to his own window. Below, the estate grounds stretched out like a perfectly manicured kingdom. Sophia was down there somewhere, probably cleaning one of the sitting rooms, pretending her world wasn't falling apart. They're probing, he said finally. Testing our security, watching our patterns. The Russos want something, but they're not ready to make a move yet. So they plant someone inside, not a professional who'd raise red flags, but a broken woman with an abusive boyfriend who can feed them information without even knowing she's doing it. What do you want me to do? Dante turned back to his head of security. Vincent Torres had been with the family for 15 years. Former Marine, completely loyal, and smart enough to understand that sometimes the best solutions were subtle. 2 things, Dante said. First, I want surveillance on Marcus. Where he goes, who he meets with, what he does. But careful, if the Russos are watching Sophia's building, they might be watching Marcus too. I don't want them to know we're onto them. Done. And second, I want Sophia protected, discreetly. Someone watching her apartment, following her to and from work, making sure Marcus doesn't escalate. And Vincent? Dante's voice hardened. If Marcus lays another hand on her, I want to know immediately. Vincent nodded. I'll put Tony and Marco on it. Best we've got for surveillance. Good. And start building a file. Everything Marcus does, everyone he talks to, every suspicious transaction. When we move against the Russos, I want Documentation that their people violated the accords by operating in our territory without permission. You're going to the commission? Eventually. But first, I need to handle the Marcus situation. Can't protect Sophia or expose the Russo connection if her abuser's still in the picture. Vincent's expression suggested he understood exactly what that meant. You want me to? No. Dante cut him off. Nothing that leads back to us. Nothing that gives the Russos ammunition or makes Sophia more vulnerable. We do this smart, clean, legal if possible. And if legal isn't possible? Dante smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we make sure whatever happens can't be traced back to this house or to Sophia. Marcus Torres is going to learn that there are consequences for his actions. But he's going to learn it in a way that doesn't endanger the woman he's been terrorizing. Sophia finished her shift at 2 o'clock, the same time she finished every day. She changed out of her uniform, in the staff locker room, checked her makeup one more time, and walked to the employee parking lot where her car waited. Her phone buzzed as she reached her Honda. A text from Marcus. Where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Her stomach clenched. She was exactly on schedule, leaving at exactly the time she always left. But lately, Marcus had been texting more, calling more, demanding to know where she was every minute of the day. Just leaving work, she typed back. Home in 30 minutes. Make it 20. We need to talk. The words made her blood run cold. We need to talk was never good. It meant she'd done something wrong, broken some rule she didn't know existed. It meant she needed to prepare herself for anger, for accusations, for whatever consequences Marcus had decided she deserved. Sophia got in her car, hands shaking as she started the engine. In her rearview mirror, she noticed a gray sedan pull out 2 cars behind her. Probably nothing. Chicago traffic was always heavy. The drive to Pilsen took 25 minutes. She spent the entire time rehearsing conversations in her head, trying to figure out what Marcus might be angry about. Had she forgotten to buy something? Said something wrong during their last conversation? Failed to respond to a text fast enough? By the time she parked outside their building, her heart was hammering and her palms were sweating. The gray sedan drove past without stopping. Sophia climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, each step feeling heavier than the last. Apartment 3B, their home for 2 years, though it had stopped feeling like home about 18 months ago. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. Marcus was waiting in the living room. He sat on the couch, perfectly still, his phone in one hand. The TV was off. The apartment was silent except for the sound of her breathing. You're late, he said quietly. Traffic was bad. I got here as fast as 27 minutes. I said 20. Sophia's mouth went dry. He was timing her. Actually timing how long it took her to get home. Like she was a child who couldn't be trusted. I'm sorry. I tried to. Who were you talking to? The question came out of nowhere. What? Marcus stood up, crossed the room in 3 strides. He was bigger than her, 6 feet tall and broad-shouldered from the gym time he obsessed over. When he got close like this, she had to tilt her head back to look at him. At work, he said, his voice still quiet, still controlled. Who were you talking to? No one. I was cleaning, same as always. Don't lie to me, Sophia. His hand shot out, grabbed her chin, forced her to meet his eyes. I can always tell when you're lying. Your left eye twitches. Did you know that? It's like a little tell in poker. Her eye was not twitching. She knew because she'd practiced lying to him in the mirror for hours, learning to control every micro-expression. But if Marcus believed it twitched, if he'd convinced himself he could detect her lies, then nothing she said would matter. I wasn't talking to anyone, she said again, keeping her voice steady. I served breakfast, cleaned the sitting rooms, did laundry, same routine as every day. And the boss? What's his name, Dante? Did you talk to him? Something in his tone made her pause. This wasn't random paranoia. This was specific. I brought him his morning coffee, that's all. Marcus's grip on her chin tightened. That's all? You didn't have a conversation? Didn't sit in his office chatting like your old friends? Oh God. He knew. Somehow, he knew about this morning. Had someone told him? Was he having her followed? Or was this just a trap? A fishing expedition to see if she'd admit something? He asked if I was feeling okay. Sophia said carefully. I looked tired. I told him I hadn't slept well. That was the entire conversation. Why did you look tired? Because I didn't sleep well. Why not? The question was a minefield. If she said because you woke me up at 3 a.m. demanding to know why I'd sighed in my sleep, It would escalate. If she said no reason, he'd call her a liar. I had a nightmare, she said, about my parents. Sometimes I still dream about the accident. It was a safe lie. Marcus knew her parents had died in a car crash. He couldn't verify whether she'd had a nightmare, and even he wasn't cruel enough to attack her for grieving. Usually, his grip loosened slightly. You need to be more careful, Sophia. People notice things. Your boss notices things. And when rich men start noticing their pretty maids, it leads to problems. He's not interested in me like that. He's just what? Concerned? Looking out for you? Marcus's laugh was bitter. Men like Dante Valentino don't do anything without a reason. If he's paying attention to you, it's because he wants something. And when he decides to take it, you won't have a choice. The projection was staggering. Marcus describing his own behavior and attributing it to someone else. I'll be more careful, Sophia said quietly. I'll stay out of his way. Good. Marcus released her chin, but didn't step back. Because I've been hearing things, Sophia. Things about the Valentino family, about how they operate, and I'm starting to think that job of yours isn't as safe as we thought. What kind of things? Things that aren't your concern. He finally moved away, walked back to the couch. But we might need to start thinking about your future there. Maybe it's time you quit, found something else, somewhere that doesn't have so much attention. Sophia's mind raced. A month ago, if Marcus had suggested she quit, she would have been relieved. But now, after this morning, after Dante's promise of protection, the idea of leaving the Valentino estate felt like abandoning her only lifeline. We need the money, she said carefully. You said your business was going through a rough patch, until that picks up. My business is fine. The snap in his voice made her flinch. I provide for us. Your little maid job is just extra. Don't act like we depend on it. They absolutely depended on it. Marcus's mysterious consulting work had been paying less and less over the past few months. She'd been covering their rent, their groceries, their utilities, but pointing that out would only make him angrier. You're right, she said. I'm sorry. Whatever you think is best. Marcus studied her for a long moment, and Sophia kept her expression carefully neutral. Finally, he nodded. Make dinner. I'm hungry. She escaped to the kitchen, her hands shaking as she pulled out ingredients. Through the doorway, she could see Marcus on the couch, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low tones she couldn't quite hear. Told you, everything's fine, he was saying. She doesn't suspect anything. Yeah, I'll keep monitoring. If something changes, you'll be the first to know. Sophia's blood went cold. Who was he talking to? What was he monitoring? And what happened if something changed? She focused on chopping vegetables, on the familiar rhythm of cooking, trying not to think about the conversation happening in the next room, trying not to think about Dante's words this morning. Men like Marcus don't stop. They escalate. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at the living room. Marcus was still on his call and carefully pulled it out. Unknown number. A text. This is Vincent Torres from the Valentino estate. Save this number. If you need help, text or call. Someone is always watching. Sophia deleted the message immediately, her heart pounding. Someone is always watching. Did that mean Dante had actually put protection on her? Or was it just reassurance? Sophia, Marcus's voice made her jump. How long does it take to make pasta? Almost done, she called back, shoving her phone back in her pocket. She finished cooking, set the table, served Marcus first the way he liked. He ate in silence, scrolling through his phone. She picked at her own food, her appetite gone. You're not eating, Marcus observed. I'm not very hungry. You need to eat. You're getting too thin. It's not attractive. Last month he'd told her she was getting fat and needed to skip meals, but pointing out the contradiction would only start a fight. You're right, she said quietly, forcing herself to take a bite. After dinner, Marcus went to the bedroom to make some calls. Sophia cleaned the kitchen, her movements automatic. Through the closed bedroom door, she could hear his voice, low and angry. Don't care what your concerns are. I'm handling my end. You worry about yours. A pause. She's not a problem. She's useful. As long as she keeps working there. We have eyes inside the Valentino operation. Why would we throw that away? Another pause, longer this time. Fine, but if you want me to do that, the price goes up. Way up. This wasn't part of the original deal. Sophia's hands stilled in the dishwater. Original deal. Eyes. Inside. She's useful. Dante had been right. This wasn't just about an abusive boyfriend. This was something bigger, something she'd stumbled into without realizing. And she was in the middle of it. The bedroom door opened. Marcus appeared, his expression dark. "I need to go out," he said. "Don't wait up. Where are you? Don't ask questions, Sophia. It's not your business." He grabbed his jacket and keys and walked out, slamming the door behind him. Sophia stood alone in the kitchen, listening to his footsteps fade down the hallway. Then she pulled out her phone and called the number on Dante Valentino's business card. He answered on the second ring. "Sophia, are you safe?" Just hearing his voice made something in her chest unclench. For now, Marcus just left. "But Mr. Valentino, I think I'm not just his girlfriend. I think I'm part of something. He was on the phone talking about me being useful, about having eyes inside your operation." "I know," Dante said calmly. And figured it out this afternoon. Marcus is working for the Russo family. They're using you to gather intelligence." The confirmation made her knees weak. She sank into a chair. "What do they want?" "That's what we're trying to find out. But Sophia, listen to me carefully. You're safe. We have people watching your building. If Marcus comes back and things escalate, if you feel threatened at all, you text Vincent's number. Someone will be there in under 3 minutes. What am I supposed to do? Just act normal while knowing I'm being used as a spy?" "Yes. For now, we're building a case, gathering evidence. Once we have enough, we'll move. But until then, the safest thing for you is to maintain the status quo. Don't let Marcus know you suspect anything." Sophia closed her eyes. "How long?" "A few days. Maybe a week. Can you do that?" She thought about 3 years of hiding bruises, of walking on eggshells, of pretending everything was fine while dying inside. What was one more week? "Yes," she said. "I can do that." "Good. And Sophia, we're going to end this. I promise you. Marcus Torres, the Russos, all of it. You're going to be free." After she hung up, Sophia sat in the empty apartment and let herself cry. Not from fear, though there was plenty of that. Not from pain, though her wrists still ached. She cried from relief, because for the first time in 3 years, someone believed her. Someone was protecting her. Someone was going to make this stop. And if that someone was Dante Valentino, one of the most dangerous men in Chicago, then maybe, just maybe, she had a chance. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Outside her apartment building, Tony Marcelli sat in a gray sedan with a clear view of the entrance. In his earpiece, he heard Marco's voice from the second surveillance vehicle 2 blocks away. Subject just left the building. Black Explorer heading west on 21st. Should we follow? Tony looked up at the 3rd floor window where Sophia's silhouette was visible against the curtains. "Negative," he said. "Marcus is Vincent's problem tonight. Our job is to keep the girl safe. Stay on the building." "Copy that." Tony settled in for a long night of watching. In this business, protection was boring right up until it wasn't, and something told him that very soon, things were going to get extremely not boring. Marcus Torres drove through Chicago's industrial district, with his jaw clenched and his hands tight on the steering wheel. The call from Julian Russo had been clear. "Meet at the warehouse on Archer Avenue. Midnight. Come alone." Nothing good ever came from midnight meetings in warehouses. He pulled up to the rusted building, killed the engine, and checked his gun. Loaded, safety off, tucked in the back of his waistband, just in case. Julian's black Mercedes was already there, along with 2 SUVs that Marcus recognized as belonging to Russo family security. 4 men stood outside, watching him with the kind of stillness that meant they were armed and ready to use it. Marcus got out slowly, hands visible. "Julian expecting me?" One of the guards nodded toward the warehouse entrance. Inside, the interior smelled like rust and old oil. Construction equipment sat covered in tarps, forgotten by whatever legitimate business had once operated here. Now it was just another Russo front, another place where unofficial business happened. Julian Russo stood in the center of the space, checking his phone like he was waiting for a late appointment rather than conducting criminal business at midnight. He was younger than Marcus, maybe 28, but he carried himself with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences for anything. "Marcus," Julian said without looking up, "we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where my uncle is. Asking questions about why our intel from inside the Valentino estate has been completely useless for the past 4 months. Julian finally looked up, his expression cold. You promised us access. Eyes and ears inside Dante Valentino's operation. Instead, we've gotten nothing but cleaning schedules and grocery lists. Marcus felt sweat prickling at the back of his neck. Sophia's just a maid. She doesn't have access to— That's the problem, isn't it? She's just a maid. Low level, no access, no useful information. Julian walked closer. We're paying you $10,000 a month to run this operation, Marcus. That's a lot of money for nothing. It takes time to build trust, to get her into position where 4 months is plenty of time. Julian's voice hardened. My uncle thinks you're playing us, taking our money while protecting your girlfriend, getting soft. I'm not soft. Marcus's hands curled into fists. I've been doing exactly what you asked. I got her the job. I keep her. Isolated, I monitor everything she does. It's not my fault the Valentinos keep their real business separate from the household staff. Then maybe we need to change tactics. Julian pulled out his phone, showed Marcus a photograph. It showed Sophia in the Valentino estate parking lot, getting into her car. Your girlfriend's been noticed. Dante Valentino had a conversation with her yesterday morning. 45 minutes in his private study. What do you think they talked about? Marcus's blood went cold. Sophia hadn't mentioned any conversation. She'd said she brought him coffee and that was it. She'd lied to him. I don't know, he said carefully. But I'll find out. See that you do. Because here's what's going to happen. Julian pocketed his phone. Either Sophia becomes useful, really useful, with actual intel we can use, or she becomes a different kind of asset. What does that mean? It means if she can't spy for us, maybe she can be used as leverage instead. A maid who gets hurt on Valentino property? That's a scandal. Police involvement, media attention, questions about security and working conditions. It weakens Dante's position, makes him look careless. The implication was clear and sickening. They wanted to hurt Sophia publicly, to create a crisis that would damage the Valentino reputation. She's not part of this, Marcus said, surprising himself with the defensiveness in his voice. She doesn't know anything about what we're doing. That's the beauty of it. Her ignorance makes her perfect. Julian smiled. An innocent victim of the big bad Mafia boss. The press would eat it up. And what happens to her after? Why do you care? You've been hitting her for 3 years. Don't develop a conscience now. The words hit like a slap. Marcus had never thought of it that way, that he was hurting Sophia. She pushed his buttons, made him angry, forced him to discipline her. But the way Julian said it, so casually, so cruel, made it sound like something sighed. Ugly. I'm not going to let you hurt her, Marcus heard himself say. Julian's expression changed, went from mildly amused to dangerous. Excuse me? You heard me. Sophia's off limits. Find another way to get at Valentino. You don't give us orders, Marcus. You take them. That's how this works. Julian stepped closer. You've been very well compensated for very little results. Either you deliver what we're paying for, or there are consequences. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. You work for the Russo family now. That means you do what we tell you, when we tell you. And if we tell you that your girlfriend needs to have an unfortunate accident at work, Julian shrugged, then that's what happens. Marcus's hand moved toward the gun at his back. He didn't even think about it, just pure instinct. The 4 guards reacted immediately. Guns drawn, aimed, ready. Julian didn't even flinch. Really, Marcus? You're going to shoot me? Here? In a building surrounded by my people? He laughed. You're dumber than I thought. Marcus froze, his hand on the grip of his gun but not drawing it. 4 against 1. He'd be dead before he cleared leather. Here's what's going to happen, Julian continued, his voice pleasant again. You're going to go home. You're going to have a conversation with Sophia, and you're going to find out what Dante Valentino wanted from her yesterday. If she was telling you the truth about it being nothing, fine. But if she was lying, if she's been holding out on you, then you're going to make her understand that lying has consequences. You want me to hurt her. I want you to do your job. We need intel, Marcus. Real intel. And if a little pain motivates your girlfriend to be more observant, more useful, then that's what it takes. Julian's smile was cold. Unless you'd prefer we send someone else to have that conversation? Someone less emotionally invested? The threat was clear. Either Marcus controlled Sophia, or the Russos would send someone who'd do much worse than slap her around. I'll handle it, Marcus said quietly. Good. You have 48 hours. Get us something useful, or this arrangement ends. And when it ends, Julian gestured to the guards. Well, let's just say you won't enjoy the severance package. Marcus left the warehouse with his heart pounding and his mind racing. He sat in his Explorer for a full minute, trying to think. This had seemed so simple when the Russos first approached him 6 months ago. Get close to a woman, any woman who could get hired at the Valentino estate. They'd done the research, found out the estate was hiring household staff, and Marcus had done what he did best, hunted for vulnerable prey. Sophia had been perfect. Alone, grieving her parents, working a dead-end waitress job. He'd charmed her, moved in fast, isolated her from anyone who might interfere. Getting her to apply to the Valentino estate had been easy, just plant the idea. Make her think it was her own decision. And for $10,000 a month, Marcus had been willing to play the long game. But now the game was changing. The Russos were getting impatient. And Sophia, who was supposed to just be a useful tool, had somehow become a problem. Because despite everything, despite the control, the manipulation, the violence, Marcus didn't actually want her dead. He'd convinced himself that what he did to her was discipline, was necessary to keep her in line. But having someone else hurt her, use her as a pawn, throw her away when she stopped being useful, that felt different. Marcus started the engine and headed back to Pilsen. He needed to think, needed to figure out what Sophia had talked to Dante Valentino about and whether she was becoming a liability. And if she was, he needed to decide. Was he willing to throw her to the wolves to save himself? Sophia woke to the sound of the apartment door opening. She checked her phone 3:47 a.m. Marcus had been gone for almost 4 hours. She stayed in bed, listening to him move through the living room. His footsteps were heavy, uneven. He was pacing. The bedroom door opened. Light from the hallway spilled in. "I know you're awake," Marcus said. Sophia sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around herself. Even in the dim light, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands kept clenching and unclenching. "Where were you?" she asked quietly. "Meeting. Work stuff." He walked to the window, looked out at the empty street. "We need to talk about your boss." Her stomach dropped. "What about him?" "Yesterday morning. You said you had a short conversation about being tired. That's all that happened?" "Yes." "You're sure? He didn't ask you anything else? About me? About us? About what goes on in his house?" Sophia's mind raced. This was the moment. She could tell Marcus the truth, that Dante had seen the bruises, that he'd offered help, that the Valentinos were investigating Marcus. But that would confirm she'd been lying, would prove she couldn't be trusted, or she could keep lying. Stick to her story. Hope Marcus didn't have proof otherwise. "He asked if I was okay," she said carefully. "He noticed I looked tired. I told him I hadn't slept well. He said I should rest more. That was the entire conversation." Marcus turned to face her. "Why would he care if you're tired?" "I don't know. Maybe he cares about his employees? Maybe he was just being polite?" "Dante Valentino doesn't do polite. He doesn't waste words on small talk. If he's paying attention to you, there's a reason." Marcus walked closer to the bed. "What did you tell him, Sophia?" "Nothing. I didn't tell him anything because there's nothing to tell." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." His hand shot out and grabbed her arm, yanking her out of bed. Sophia stumbled, barely catching herself against the nightstand. "I can always tell when you're lying," Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. "Your eye twitches, and right now it's twitching like crazy." "Marcus, please. What did you tell him about me? About us?" "Nothing. I swear. I didn't." The slap came fast and hard, snapping her head to the side. Pain exploded across her cheek, and she tasted blood where her teeth had cut the inside of her mouth. "Try again," Marcus said. Sophia's vision blurred with tears. This was different. Usually when Marcus hit her, it was calculated, controlled. This was raw desperation. "He saw the bruises," she whispered. "On my wrist. My sleeve slipped when I was serving coffee. He saw them and asked what happened." "And what did you tell him?" I said. "I walked into a door, that I was clumsy. Did he believe you?" "I don't know. She hesitated too long. Marcus grabbed her chin, forced her to look at him. "He what?" "He told me to sit down. He asked who hurt me. But I didn't tell him anything, Marcus. I promise. I said it was an accident, and he let it go." The lie felt flimsy even as she said it. But it was better than admitting Dante knew Marcus's name, knew about their relationship, was actively investigating him. Marcus's grip tightened. "If you told him about me, if you said anything that makes me look bad, There will be consequences. Do you understand? I didn't tell him anything. Because I have people I answer to, Sophia. People who are paying good money for you to work in that house. And if you screw this up, if you make yourself useless, then bad things happen, to both of us. The admission confirmed what Dante had told her. Marcus was working for someone. She was being used. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice breaking. I want you to do exactly what you've been doing. Go to work. Clean. Listen. But pay attention. Real attention. I need to know what goes on in that house. Who visits, what they talk about, what Dante's planning. I'm just a maid. I don't hear anything important. Then find a way to hear more. Get closer to the family. Make yourself useful. His hand moved, from her chin to her throat, not squeezing, just resting there. A threat. Because if you're not useful, Sophia, then you're a liability. And liabilities get cut loose. He released her and stepped back. I'm going to bed. We'll talk more in the morning. He left the room, leaving Sophia standing there with her cheek throbbing and her heart racing. She waited until she heard him settle in the living room. Marcus had been sleeping on the couch lately, said her tossing and turning kept him awake, then carefully pulled out her phone. She opened the text thread with Vincent Torres's number. He knows something's wrong. He's asking about Dante. What do I do? The response came within seconds. Stay calm. Act normal. We're moving up the timeline. Help is coming soon. Sophia deleted the messages and climbed back into bed, her body aching and her mind spinning. Help is coming soon. She had to believe that, had to hold on to it like a lifeline. Because if help didn't come soon, she wasn't sure. She'd survive long enough to see it. Dante Valentino sat in his study at 4:30 a.m., unable to sleep. Vincent's text had come through 20 minutes ago. Marcus came home agitated, confronted Sophia. We heard raised voices, then silence. Should we move in? Dante had responded immediately. Not yet. Wait for my signal. Is she safe right now? Apartment lights went off. Sounds quiet. Tony says Marcus is on the couch. Sophia's in the bedroom. Separate rooms. That was something at least. But Dante could feel the situation escalating. Marcus was getting desperate, which made him unpredictable. And desperate, unpredictable men did desperate, unpredictable things. His phone rang. Vincent. Talk to me, Dante answered. Got something from the warehouse surveillance. Marcus met with Julian Russo tonight. 4 guards, private conversation, lasted about 20 minutes. When Marcus left, he looked rattled. Julian's escalating, putting pressure on Marcus to deliver intel or face consequences. That's my read. And now Marcus is putting pressure on Sophia. Vincent paused. Boss, we need to move. If we wait too long. I know, but we need this done right. Marcus can't know we're coming until it's too late to react. Dante pulled up files on his laptop. Where are we with the evidence? Solid. We've got Marcus's connection to the Russos documented. Multiple meetings, money transfers, communication logs. We've got proof the Russos have been running surveillance on our property. And we've got Marcus's history of violence from his previous relationships. What about Sophia's safety? If we move against Marcus and the Russos retaliate, already handled. I've got a safe house prepared. The moment we extract her, she goes straight there. New identity documents are being prepared. If needed, we can get her out of Chicago within hours. Dante nodded, though Vincent couldn't see it. Contact Detective Sophia Chen at the 12th District. She's clean, doesn't have ties to the Russos, and she's been looking for a reason to go after them. Give her everything we have on Marcus. Domestic violence, witness intimidation, conspiracy. Make it a gift she can't refuse. You want to bring in the police? I want Marcus arrested legally, by someone who can make the charges stick. We provide the evidence, the cops do their job, and Marcus goes away without a single connection to us. Dante's voice hardened. And once Marcus is in custody, once he's facing serious time, we offer him a deal. Testify against the Russos. Exactly. He flips, gives us everything about their operation in exchange for a lighter sentence. We get the evidence we need to go to the commission. Prove the Russos violated the accords. They get sanctioned, lose territory, and we come out of this looking clean. Vincent was quiet for a moment. And Sophia? Sophia gets protection, resources, and freedom. Once Marcus is in custody, once the Russo threat is neutralized, she can decide what she wants to do with her life. Stay in Chicago with security, Relocate somewhere new, go back to school, whatever she wants. We fund it. That's generous. That's taking care of our people. Dante closed his laptop. How fast can you get Detective Chen the evidence? I can have it on her desk in 3 hours. Do it. And Vincent? Make sure Tony and Marco stay on Sophia. If Marcus so much as raises his voice at her again, I want them ready to intervene. Copy that. After hanging up, Dante stood and walked to his window. The sky was starting to lighten in the east, the first hints of dawn painting the horizon. Soon, Sophia Chen would be free, and Marcus Torres would learn exactly what happened when you hurt someone under Dante Valentino's protection. Detective Sarah Chen arrived at the 12th District Precinct at 6 a.m. to find a manila envelope on her desk with no return address. Inside was everything she'd need to end Marcus Torres's career as a free man. She read through it twice, her expression getting grimmer with each page. Then she picked up her phone and called for a warrant. By 8 a.m., she had approval. By 9 a.m., she was in a patrol car with her partner and 4 uniformed officers, heading to Pilsen. Sophia left for work at 5:15 a.m., same as always. Marcus was still asleep on the couch when she slipped out. The gray sedan was already in the parking lot, waiting. She'd stopped being surprised by it. In a strange way, it was comforting knowing someone was watching. She drove to the Valentino estate on autopilot, her mind elsewhere. Her cheek still hurt from Marcus's slap. Her throat felt bruised where his hand had rested, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a clock was ticking. How much longer before Marcus escalated further? How much longer before the Russos decided she was more useful dead than alive? Help is coming soon, Vincent had texted. She had to believe that. Mrs. Delgado, the head housekeeper, greeted her at the staff entrance. Mr. Valentino wants to see you. His study. Immediately. Sophia's stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? He didn't say. Just asked me to send you up the moment you arrived. Sophia climbed the stairs with dread pooling in her chest. When she reached the study, Dante was standing by the window. He turned when she entered. Close the door, he said quietly. She obeyed. The room suddenly felt very small. Vincent told me what happened last night, Dante said. Marcus confronted you. There was no point lying. Yes. Did he hurt you? Sophia touched her cheek unconsciously. It's not that bad. That's not what I asked. Yes, she whispered. He hit me. He was angry, wanted to know what we talked about. I told him it was nothing, but I don't think he believed me. Dante's expression darkened. Where is he now? Home. Sleeping. Good. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Sophia, I need you to listen carefully. Within the next hour, the Chicago Police Department is going to arrest Marcus Torres on multiple charges, including domestic violence, assault, and witness intimidation. When they do, you cannot be anywhere near your apartment. Do you understand? Her breath caught. You're having him arrested? I'm providing evidence to law enforcement so they can do their job. There's a difference. Dante pocketed his phone. You're going to stay here today. Not working, just safe. Mrs. Delgado will set you up in one of the guest suites. You'll have security, privacy, anything you need. What happens after he's arrested? That depends on Marcus. If he's smart, he'll take a deal testify against the people who've been using him in exchange for a reduced sentence. Either way, he's going away for a long time. Sophia felt tears burning her eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Dante's voice softened. You've been living in fear for 3 years, Sophia. That ends today. Marcus Torres will never touch you again. I promise you that. A knock on the door. Vincent Torres entered, holding a tablet. It's done, he said. Detective Chen just arrived at the apartment with a warrant. 6 officers, full tactical. Marcus won't know what hit him. Dante nodded. Any sign of Russo surveillance? The black Escalade that's been watching the building pulled out 15 minutes ago. They knew something was coming and got out ahead of it. Good. Let them run. We'll deal with them later. Dante looked at Sophia. Vincent will take you to the guest wing. Get some rest. This will all be over soon. As Sophia followed Vincent out, she heard Dante make another call. Carmine, it's time. Call the commission. Tell them we have evidence of Russo family violations. Extensive documentation. Witness testimony. The works. Request an emergency session. Sophia closed the door on his voice, but the words stayed with her. This wasn't just about saving her. This was about bringing down an entire criminal organization. And somehow, impossibly, she was at the center of it all. Marcus Torres woke up to pounding on his door at 9:17 a.m. Chicago PD, open up. We have a warrant. He scrambled off the couch, his mind foggy with sleep and confusion. Through the door's peephole, he saw uniforms, multiple officers, guns drawn. "This is a mistake," he shouted. "I didn't do anything. Open the door now or we break it down." Marcus backed away from the door, his heart racing. This was wrong. This was all wrong. The Russos were supposed to protect him, supposed to make sure he stayed clean. The door exploded inward. Officers flooded the apartment. "Marcus Torres, you're under arrest for aggravated domestic violence, assault, witness intimidation, and conspiracy." They had him on the ground before he could react, hands cuffed behind his back, knee in his spine, reading him his rights. "This is bullshit," Marcus shouted. "You don't have anything on me. I want my lawyer." "You'll get your call." Detective Sarah Chen appeared, in his line of sight, holding a folder. "But first, let's talk about Sophia Chen. And let's talk about the Russo family. And let's talk about how much trouble you're in." Marcus's blood went cold. They knew everything. And as the officers hauled him to his feet and dragged him toward the door, Marcus realized with perfect clarity that Dante Valentino had outplayed him from the very beginning. He'd lost. And worse, he'd underestimated the one person who could have saved him. Sophia. 3 months later, Sophia Chen stood in a sunlit apartment in Lincoln Park, boxes half unpacked around her, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The apartment was hers, truly hers. 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a kitchen with windows that caught the morning light. Dante had arranged it through a property management company, 6 months paid in advance, her name on the lease. "It's not charity," he'd said when she tried to refuse. "It's restitution." The Russos had been skimming money from multiple sources, including a fund your parents had invested in years ago. The commission ordered full repayment as part of their sanctions. "This is your money, Sophia. I'm just helping you access it." She'd cried when he showed her the bank statements. $40,000 plus interest. Her parents' legacy, stolen by the same people who'd tried to use her as a pawn. Now Marcus was in Cook County Jail, awaiting trial. He'd taken a deal 15 years in exchange for testimony against the Russo family. Julian Russo and 4 other high-ranking members were facing federal charges. Their territory had been redistributed by the commission, their operation dismantled, and Sophia was free. There was a knock on her door. She checked the peephole, a habit that would probably take years to break, and smiled. Dante Valentino stood in her hallway, holding a small potted plant. She opened the door. "Is that a housewarming gift?" "Orchid," he said, almost sheepish. "Mrs. Delgado said every new home needs one. I have no idea if that's true, but she's usually right about these things." Sophia took the plant, their fingers brushing briefly. "Thank you. For this, for everything. I don't know how to—" "You don't have to thank me." Dante stepped inside, looking around the apartment. "You've done well here. It looks like home. It's starting to feel like one." She set the orchid on the kitchen counter. "I enrolled in community college. Accounting classes. Turns out I'm good with numbers. Your father would be proud." The mention of her father should have hurt, but somehow it didn't. Not anymore. "I think he would be. I'm doing what he tried to do, using numbers to expose the truth, to help people, just in a different way." Dante nodded. "The estate still has a position for you if you want it. Not cleaning. Mrs. Delgado mentioned we need help with bookkeeping, inventory management. It would be office work, better pay, and—" "I'd like that," Sophia interrupted. "But on one condition." "What's that?" "I'm not there because you feel guilty or obligated. I'm there because I'm good at my job and you need someone competent. Deal?" Dante smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "Deal." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sophia asked the question that had been nagging at her for weeks. "Why did you do all this? Really? You could have just fired me, kept me away from the Russo situation. Why go to war for someone you barely knew?" Dante walked to the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. "My mother," he said quietly. "When I was 12, my father hit her. Just once. But I saw it. Saw the fear in her eyes. Saw her make excuses for him the next day. She stayed with him for 30 more years because she thought she had no choice, no way out." He turned back to Sophia. "When I saw your bruises, When I saw that same fear, I decided something. No one under my roof, no one connected to my family, would ever feel that. Trapped again. Not on my watch. Sophia felt tears threatening. Your mother, is she? She passed away 5 years ago. Pneumonia, the doctor said, but I think she just got tired of being afraid. His voice was rough. I couldn't save her, but I could save you. Sophia crossed the room and did something that would have terrified her 3 months ago. She hugged Dante Valentino. He stiffened for a moment, then carefully put his arms around her. They stood like that, the Mafia boss and the maid. He'd saved 2 people who understood that sometimes strength meant protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. When they pulled apart, Sophia wiped her eyes. I have something for you. She went to her bedroom, returned with a folder. Remember how you had Vincent investigate Marcus? Well, I've been doing some investigating of my own, taking those accounting classes, learning how to read financial records properly. She opened the folder. I found discrepancies in the estate's supply. Orders. Small things, but consistent. Someone's been skimming not much, maybe $500 a month, but over 2 years that adds up. Dante took the folder, studied her notes. His eyebrows rose. This is good work, Sophia. Very good work. I figured if I'm going to work in your office, I should prove I can spot problems. She smiled. Turns out my father taught me more than I realized. He taught you well. Dante closed the folder. I'll have Vincent look into this. And Sophia, this is exactly the kind of thinking I need. Someone who sees details others miss, who isn't afraid to speak up when something's wrong. I'm done being afraid, Sophia said firmly. Marcus took 3 years from me. The Russos tried to use me. But I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor, and I'm going to make sure my father's legacy using truth to fight corruption lives on. Dante extended his hand. Then welcome to the team. Officially. She shook it, feeling the strength in his grip, the respect at his eyes. One more thing, Dante said as he headed for the door. Marcus's sentencing hearing is next month. You don't have to go, but if you want to make a victim impact statement, I'll make sure you have support there. Sophia thought about it. 3 months ago, the idea of facing Marcus in a courtroom would have paralyzed her with fear. But now, I'll be there, she said. I want him to hear what he did. I want him to know that he didn't break me. He didn't, Dante agreed. He just taught you how strong you really are. After he left, Sophia stood in her apartment, her safe, peaceful, Marcus-free apartment, and looked at the orchid on her counter. New beginnings, she thought. That's what Mrs. Delgado had meant. Every home needs something growing, something alive, something that proves you're not just surviving but thriving. Sophia Chen had spent 3 years in the dark, hiding bruises and living in fear. But dawn had finally come, and she was ready to face the light. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.